there, Coach, when you first heard the news this morning? Unspeakable.
Yeah, it wasn't confirmed yet, so we were hoping that it was going to be a bad rumor. But the phone rang at 6:30 from Coach Donato over at Hardin, and he told me the rumor, and unfortunately. Yeah, it's hard to put into words. The Gaudreau family is so close, they're so tight. There's so many people here that were affected by them, their teammates, everybody who knew them. The fact that they were together is horrific but ironic, that because they were that tight a family.
What was it like working with Johnny and Matthew?
Well, first, I'd like to share what Greg said. It was shocking news to us. It was just such a hard reality when you wake up in the morning and hear that. And the biggest thing, and Greg and I have talked about this, that Johnny is the national news, and my phone's been ringing all over the Canada, United States this morning. But they're both boys, and they're both so close to our program. So can you imagine Guy and Jane, the parents? One of the youngest daughter, Katie's getting married today, and they were all back to celebrate. And now you lose two sons, so it's almost unimaginable. And we know life is difficult, and this is certainly one of those times. But he was a special Gaudreau connection, like Greg said to us. Both amazing players, and people all talk about Johnny as Olympic player and world class, but just as someone to raise the level of your practice, to be Johnny hockey, but not wear that label. Well respected by all the students here, the teachers, and by Greg and I. If you ask us the name of our favorite players, they've got to be, both boys are going to be among them.
You obviously they're good hockey players to be here, great hockey players, but when you speak of them and being with them on a daily basis, what were they like as people? What were your favorite things about them as people?
They brought a ton of joy to the rink. They were happy to be there, like truly happy to be there. Big smiles all the time. The things they could do on the ice, that's what people who don't know them remember, because they were both magical in their own ways. But everyone just loved having them on the team. They were tremendous teammates. They lit up the room when they came in. So not only, we've had lots of brothers at BC, but when you had those two in the room, it's just everything was amped up. They carried that joy that they had for life and for being teammates onto the ice, and you could see it by the way they played.
We talked about them being very close. Can you talk about the dynamic between the two of them when they were teammates for that season, how they would interact being on the same team?
Yeah. We had a great team. They would battle each other in practice. They would probably looked out for each other like brothers do. But yeah, the only thing you can say is their personality and their enthusiasm was truly infectious to the whole team. They could. Johnny was magical on the ice that year. Matty helped really, be a big time player for us after that year, but them together was just just brought a juice to the Father Tony talks about bring juice to the locker room. Well, those two guys brought it.
They were together 3 years here, so like Greg said, Johnny was a magical, but Matty his compete level, and he pushed his brother so much. that they had a great bond between them. But I think part of the reason Johnny was so good, not Greg and myself here, but the younger brother pushing him hard like that. So it was a fun dynamic to watch. And when we first came in, I remember Kevin Hayes, and we had a lot of really good players above him, Kreider and Tommy Cross, and they look at this little kid walking. It looks like he's 14 years old, and they'd heard so much about him, and very few had seen him play. And he didn't want to be the first one in the room. He was never going to be that type of guy. He just kind of came in, sat down, and I'm sure Kevin was looking over. This is the guy that's going to help us win a national title. Yeah, Kevin, he is. So, but he really became close, especially with, I'd say, Kevin Hayes. So that was his go-to, and actually became a dot rat. Spent a lot of weekends with Kevin Sr., the family, and in Dorchester. So he, even though he was a kind of Philly kid, Jersey kid, he became quite a Boston young guy.
Jerry, you told me he almost didn't become an Eagle. He was going to be a Husky first, and then turned out playing for you as a Hobie Baker winner. You don't get a chance to coach too many of those guys.
Yeah, our best recruiter was Greg Cronin, I think. And Greg and I both stayed in touch with Greg all these years, but he had left Northeastern prior to Johnny and Matty both coming that fall. And so during the summer, he reached out to, Greg, and Greg helped him, I think, pick some different schools to visit. And then when he visited us, and I think Matty was Greg, a driving force, I think, that we knew, both brothers were tight, but I think he was one. John, let's go to BC. They could have gone to Wisconsin, BU, anywhere they wanted to. And so I think Matty helped direct him. I think that's right, don't you? Is it? Yeah.
They were going to go together,
Yeah.
no matter what. So we're fortunate to have room, and so excited to get him. Johnny showed up and put us over the edge to win that first that national title in 2000.
What do you think his weight was when he came in? What did you guess that?
If he was 140 pounds. Matty was 20 pounds lighter than him. Like, the things that they could do for their size are, I mean, they both have a genius tool that you don't see often. To be as effective not only at the college level with Johnny in the NHL, at that size, takes such a high IQ level that you can't even describe. Everyone in the league is really good, and then for him to be not just play, but be a star is truly incredible.
I remember a few practices and Mike Kavanaugh then was on our staff, and Mike would look at Greg, and I'd be looking at both of them as Johnny did something. Wow, what did he just do there? As elusive and as just incredible things he could do on the ice with the puck, and I just look over at Greg or something like this. We're going to be pretty good this year. I think I big cried with him, and it was pretty interesting.
Have either of you had the chance to speak with the family, and what did you say, or if not, what would you like to say to them?
Have a chance yet. Just know how close they were, are as a family.
I had a chance. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, it's every parent's worst nightmare. Think about them.
I texted Jane and Guy this morning and just reminded them how special they were to BC. And even Katie, Greg, of course, remembers her too. She was like a 10-year-old younger sister that never missed a game. And, wore the BC gear and everything. And for her, to be getting married, the whole thing is so hard. But we'll have a great contingent coming from here down to the wake and the funeral, and I'm sure if Tony's available, he'll be able to, Father Tony will be able to sit at mass too. Greg, you want to tell a story about the Skittles, how we learned to skate? I think that'd be kind of entertaining.
We heard it from Guy. I think that's how he got him to get around the ice. I think he would chase Skittles. He wasn't in love with hockey when he was little, but he would chase the Skittles because he liked those. His diet was never called that of a world-class athlete, but his nickname was Johnny and Cheese. He didn't like sushi. His teammates have a lot more of those stories. Yeah, they were special kids.
It seems like they were the finest you guys have ever coached. What did you learn from them as athletes, as student athletes here at Boston College? You guys are so busy coaching and teaching. Did they teach you guys anything?
Oh, absolutely. Every day, not just hockey skills, but how they handle themselves. And Father Tony was always talking about, you want to be great on the ice, but you don't want to act great off the ice. And just be a regular, and they'd walk around the campus and everybody would be in awe of course, the brother, Johnny. But he was just, hello and very polite. And so he handled fame extremely well. And he did it at the NHL level, too. He was always a great teammate. But that's kind of what I remember about him. Just
Very grounded.
Yeah, grounded. Yeah.
They had special abilities, but they knew that was just their thing and didn't put them in any special light. They treated every one of their teammates like a brother. Yeah, it's like grounded. Johnny finished up in Calgary this season. He came back. He slept on his brother's floor to get some more classes in. So he did get his degree. Not everyone would do that. And that was important to him, to his family. He made sure he came back and finished up.
And that was recent? Or?
Wow.
Wow, okay.
I remember though.
Pretty soon after he
Okay.
left.
Greg and I were saying goodbye to Johnny because we were in Philadelphia, the Final Four, and Calgary had sent a plane to pick him up and bring him right to the end of the season. We'll play some games for the
Last
Flames.
game,
Yeah, and the mother was with us, and Jane was adamant. Johnny, you got to get that degree, and she stayed right on him. So, yeah, both boys have the degrees from BC, and that's important to us. Yeah.
It seems like they left an indelible mark here. How do the current players, obviously they look at him as legend. To me, he's a legend here on campus. How are the current players handling this? Did they get a chance to really know him? Did he come back and visit from time?
Greg would know that. I'm not.
Yeah, I spoke with Ryan Leonard. He played with him at the World Championships this last spring. So, he didn't know him well, but he said that Johnny and Kevin Hayes, they treated him like gold. He was over there with Will Smith. As young guys, they don't know all the pros, which was not shocking to us because they would bring them right in, treat them great, took them golfing. It's just the way he was. So, we haven't had our team meeting yet today to talk about it, but I'm sure several of our kids were growing up watching Johnny play here and thought it was pretty cool to put on a BC jersey. Darn through all the time.
Folks, maybe time for our last question if anyone has.
Matt went on to was just starting to get into coaching. Did that surprise either one of you that he would want to stay in the game?
Not at all. Their father had a love for the game and a passion for it, and around hockey, coaching, and everything, and obviously helping his two boys achieve great heights. So it isn't shocking at all. Hockey was in their blood. Matty would have been a great coach. He's very cerebral, could understand really the game within the game. So, yeah, it's the least shocking thing.
Thank you
Thank you.
for being here, appreciate it. And if one-on-one questions,